Hi there, I'm Katja Bjerrum and I help designers and design teams to automate Illustrator tasks and work smarter. And today I've got a little trick on how to add Pantone swatches to Illustrator using a bit of AI and one of my scripts. The download link is right below in the video description. If you've ever found it tricky to get Pantone swatches into your Illustrator files, this little trick will make your life a little bit easier. And I also want to say that I actually got the idea during Therese Jackson's fantastic swatch session at Creative Pro Week. Enjoying this little trick? So hit the like button or subscribe. Now let's dive in. What I want to achieve is to create two swatch groups in Illustrator, one for print with coated colors and another for textiles with TCX swatches. For this I need a spreadsheet. The first column should be swatch group name, where I'll assign either print for coated swatches or textile for TCX swatches. Then I need a swatch name column, followed by columns in the RGB values. Even though I'm working in CMUK documents, I prefer to ask for RGB values. They give the best results in the end. So I start by downloading Pantone chips. I go to the Pantone website, log in, and under Color Services, I choose Color Finder. You can search for a chip by typing its name or number, or use the color wheel to browse visually. I'll use the color wheel now. Once I find a chip I need, I right-click and select Save Image to Downloads. For this example, I downloaded one chip from the TCX library and another from Solid Coated. This way, you can download all the chips you need. I've already done this in advance. In the next step, I switch to using an AI tool. Here I am working with ChatGPT. I'm using a paid version, which let me upload images and choose between different GPT models. I'll show you later in the video how to do this with the free model as well. I found that switching to the 04 mini high model gives me the best results. There is also an option for deep research, and that can work very well too. Just keep in mind that option gives you only a limited number of tries, so I stick with the mini high version. Now I enter my prompt and upload the files. These are the Pantone chips images I uploaded earlier. I add the prompt and let it process. It takes a little while for ChatGPT to think. This model runs a bit slower, but in the end it gives me a table along with links to where it found the values. I ask it to generate a downloadable CSV file and it does. I save it to my computer. Now let's jump into Illustrator and see how this table works. In Illustrator I have a file where I've placed linked images of the Pantone chips. I've also drawn some white rectangles that I will fill with the swatch colors so we can compare them to the originals. Now I go to File, Script and run the CSVtoSwatch script. In the dialog box, I select Spot Colors. Since Pantone colors are spot colors, I press OK, navigate to the CSV file I created earlier with ChatGPT and select it. The script created two swatch groups, one for print with coated colors and one for textile with TCX colors. Let's take a look at how the colors turned out. We'll start with green. There is a tiny difference in the coated version, but it's hardly noticeable. The pink looks good too. The textile version is just a little different, but overall, the colors turned out really nicely. With the free version of ChatGPT and Gemini 2, you'll run into some limitation. There is a cap on how many images you can upload at once, which is why it helps to prepare a single file ahead of time. Here I did that in Illustrator, but you could do the same in Photoshop. I placed all my Pantone chip images into one file. Then you can export it as a PNG or JPEG, or just take a screenshot, like I'm doing here. Next, I switch to the free version of ChatGPT. I can choose different models here, but I go to Tools and select Run Deep Research. This also has a limited number of tries. I add my prompt, upload the screenshot I made earlier, and let it process. It takes a little while for ChatGPT to analyze the image. Sometimes it might ask a few follow-up questions to clarify. Just answer those and it will continue. After a bit of processing, it gives me a table. From there, I can ask for downloadable CSV file. Just keep in mind that option is also limited. Once the file is ready, I download it to my computer. And here's a tip. If your AI model can create a downloadable CSV, just ask it to give you the data in CSV format. Then copy the text into a plain text editor and save it as a CSV file. Now I want to see how these values work in Illustrator. So I go there, run my CSVtoSwatch script, and choose the table I created with the free version. Then I fill the rectangles with the swatch colors. And now you can see this orange Pantone swatch looks quite different from the original chip. This isn't because the version is free. The free version can actually create matches that are just as good or sometimes even better than the paid version. But sometimes swatches just don't match perfectly. So how can you adjust it and get it right? I choose the eyedropper tool and select the rectangle. I sample the color directly from the Pantone chip image. Then I create a new swatch, just a regular one, not a global. I apply the original swatch to the rectangle again so we can clearly see what happens next. Now I take the new swatch I created, start to drag it and press Alt while dragging. Make sure you see the little plus icon at the bottom right of the swatch. Then drop it onto the original swatch you want to replace. This updates the swatch with the new values, and now the color matches perfectly. You can do this for any of the colors you want to fine-tune. In Gemini, the process is more or less the same. You write your prompt and upload your files. If you are using the free version, it is better to upload one combined image file. But here I'm using the paid version, so I upload all my Pantone chips individually. I select the deep research option, and with the paid plan, I also have an option to choose a different model. Gemini takes a little while to process, but after some time it gives me a lot of text along with the table. There are a few swatches it couldn't identify, that's okay. I export the table to Google Sheets and open it there. For the swatches Gemini couldn't find, I just add some random placeholder values in those spots. Then I download the file as a CSV. Next I go back to Illustrator, run the script again and select the CSV file I generated with Gemini. You'll see these two black dummy swatches. Those are the ones Gemini couldn't match. So I first fill all the swatches that were generated and then fill in the missing ones using the eyedropper tool. I select the rectangles and create a swatch group. Finally, I fill my rectangles with the dummy swatches. And just like I showed earlier, I alt-drag the new swatches onto the original ones to replace them. And the colors update. And that's it. I hope this trick helped you to work smarter in Illustrator. Just a little reminder, this method is great for building swatches for design and mockups, but it doesn't replace official Pantone libraries or guarantee perfect color accuracy for production. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.